Hey guys, Novus here, and welcome back to From the Depths. So, I was just going to quickly give you an update on the Battleship, but while I was jumping into the game, I noticed something on the workshop. And it's something I'd actually been wanting to make myself, for quite a while, and just sort of never got around to. And yeah, I kind of saw it on the workshop and was like, let's check this one out. And it's actually pretty damn cool, so I thought I'd quickly show it off. So, here we have the Millenium Falcon from all the Star Wars movies. Now, one thing, I was a little sad. I was really hoping that they'd had the same idea kind of situation I had, because as far as I'm aware, from memory, in the old movies, when they did get on the guns, from memory, I might have to double check this though. I might have actually been misremembering. But, I could have sworn they got into the guns. So rather than just being inside the ship in a place where you couldn't actually see outside. Okay, so we're not actually directly below the guns, but yeah. Rather than sort of sitting in a gunnery seat here, you kind of sat inside the guns. That's the only thing I was kind of like, oh, I was kind of hoping that was the case. Other than that though, it's actually a really cool design. And yes, they've just used a large turbine there as well to make it look like it's got a little radar on it. There's a whole bunch of sort of aesthetic stuff that's been put onto it that just looks really nice. I haven't tested it in combat, to be perfectly honest, yet, so I might give it a quick go and see how it goes, and then show off the battleship. But yeah, I just saw this and I just really wanted to share and show you guys. And it's totally up on the workshop, so I'd suggest checking it out, to be honest. But yeah, the whole thing, you can move around inside it from what I've seen. So, hop out of the seat, you can get around and see all the different compartments and so forth. Yeah. It's pretty cool. I quite like it, to be honest. Now, I wouldn't necessarily call that ammo storage so much as a death room, but yeah, you got your lasers set up in there. It's all very aesthetically pleasing, I gotta say that. There doesn't appear to be a chair. Oh no, wait, there is. Okay, yep, you've actually got to sort of jump over to get to the chair. There we go. Okay, so this... Oh, so this is giving you access to both your standard flight seat and advanced... Whoa, controls. Okay, she nosed down pretty hard just then. Okay, yes, it's got a little bit of issues with balance on the propulsion, it would look like, but there's probably PIDs controlling that when the AI is controlling it, so that's fine. Okay, so if we let go long enough, it should... There we go, kick back in. Yeah, so what I might do is I might just chill out here in that front seat and quickly throw it into combat. See how it does. Let's bring in something that's like relatively quick that it can muck around with. Let's bring in just 2 spikes. Let's see how it does. I don't know how strong it is yet. Well, not all that strong, to be honest. I didn't expect it to be, perfectly honest, but she gets around. It moves and it shoots. I would probably personally want to increase the rate of fire on these to some degree. But then again, I guess it's sort of trying to make it a bit more like it was in the movie, but I think they were double barrel guns on that one. And the weapon around that, rather than quad, but nah. But yeah, that's a pretty neat little ship, and it looks good as it gets around. Yeah, quite like it. Ooh. That is a decent bang. So, not really designed for this, but yeah, so, I don't know, I thought it was pretty cool. I'll put a link down below in the description, and yeah, you guys can check this ship out for yourselves. And yeah, it's pretty aesthetically pleasing, I quite like it. It's good stuff. But yeah, so I don't know, might even at some point get around to making my own Millenium Falcon. Sort of have my own ideas with it, but yeah, I just thought that was really cool. Thought I'd pop it up for a sec. So, 344k, that is now the cost of our battleship. The cost has gone down so tremendously from, at one point it was up to like 415k, I believe. And at that point in time, it still needed so much more work. Still could use a little bit more work here and there, but now I'm pretty sure 90%, or like 99% of what I gotta work on is aesthetic. I need to put the torpedoes in under here. It's one thing that's still needed. But yeah, all the rest pretty much sorted. So the cram cannons, I went back to sort of my original design with them, with the armor penetration and explosive. I've set them to be 5 meters penetration. They don't seem more often than not to actually do that. I had a feeling it may have had to do with the fusing boxes and the fact that I'm set them up with inertial fuses. Unfortunately, I've raised the number of degrees to I think 30 and then even to 40 degrees of angle change before it'll actually detonate. It doesn't really seem to help. So I think more than anything, primarily, it's just these rounds don't tend to have enough velocity to do what I'm trying to make them do in terms of armor penetration. But regardless, they're set up to be strong enough currently that they can get straight through like a layer of heavy armor. If that's on the outside. So, I mean, they'll slowly punch their way in one way or the other. Plus, they've got enough explosive damage. I'm running the 1400 mils as they fire every 11.64 seconds. I kind of wanted to set it to 12, but no, it's fine. If I was going to do that, I may as well just raise the gauge slightly. But yeah, no, I'm actually pretty happy with these guns at the moment. So stuck with that. We've got our AA guns here. This has been slightly redesigned because I mucked around with them a bunch more and I managed to find spots where I could actually manage to hit the hull. So I set beams up on either side on the inside here, and I'm actually thinking, to be perfectly honest, they could at least go back to a 3 meter. As all these are, they're actually just there to block the gun. So I don't want it getting into a position where it can shoot this. No, it actually, yeah, no, it does need to be 4 meters. Oh yeah, okay. Alright, I can see from the angle there. Yes, the idea of that is just to prevent the gun barrels from being able to actually point in the direction of this. Now, I could just set up restrictions on the actual spinners themselves, but this works fine. Yeah, just putting a block there sort of prevents this gun from turning all the way around this way and then pointing up and into that roof on exactly, I think it's this angle. Its barrels will actually be inside enough that it will shoot inside. Yes, the middle block and the block on the outside have stopped that. This one has the block here. So they've actually lost their ability, really, to fire forward off the ship on any sharper of an angle, really, than that. So, yeah, there's a big current at the front there where we don't have any AA fire at the moment, but it should be fine. If anything's flying straight at us from head on, these cram cannons will absolutely destroy them. Had to muck around a bunch with these and figure out where I could and couldn't put blocks up against the sides here to reinforce a little bit, as, yeah, it's just hard to get the turret to turn in there sometimes otherwise. I could have cut the corners off and it would have made it much easier, but it's fine. Yes, that's all sorted. We got a decent number of lambs. The only thing I've really got to work on now is figuring out how to set my lambs up better, as I'm pretty sure at this stage, yeah, we've got up here, we've got a control room, I believe I mentioned that before. In Is it in here? No, wait, no, lambs. Up the front, all the way up the front. So I'm pretty sure, from what I remember, yeah, we're running 4 Q switches on these. And yet they seem to fire at about half the pace, if even, of, what you call it, the Bulwark, I think it's called, was just one example I was using. So the Onyx Watch, I was using their vehicles and still looking at their lambs, and they fire extremely quickly. They basically just machine gun their lasers out, which is good when you have accuracy issues at all, which the lambs always kind of do, until things get closer. Firing a whole bunch more shots that are a little bit weaker, you're going to have more opportunities to hit your target. And when you only need to really score one hit, it helps. I can't get my lasers to do that. I don't know why. So I think I need to look over it more. I might actually have to get inside the enemy ship, have a better look at how they set theirs up. It's one thing I usually don't do. I just kind of try and figure things out for myself. But yeah, that one, I got no idea how they're shooting so quickly, so I gotta look it up. Well, sorry, look at it. So we got extra rudders at the back here. They were just to try and help with turning, because this thing's got a really terrible turning circle. But at the same time, we should... No, we can't. And every time I try this, it goes backwards. I'm so confused. So it's still gonna work on it more. It needs work. I'm trying to figure out what's going wrong here, but right now I'm trying to yaw to the right and it's turning itself to the left, so it still needs work in regards to this. But we've got some extra turning propulsion. The only issue I've got with it is, yes, I'm having so much difficulty figuring out which direction they're applying the force. I shouldn't have that much trouble actually now that I think about it, because I could go into build mode and check that. But yeah, so I need to calibrate them. So she's got a few upgrades. Now, one thing I've been working on, she's got PID controls controlling her roll, her pitch, and her altitude via air pump. So that way it'll try and keep us from sinking too bad. Yeah, they seem to be functioning quite well. Pitch has a bit of an issue. It's using the front and back propulsion on either side here to try and sort of tip the vehicle to some degree. It's having issues. For one, sometimes I see it kind of just sort of doing some weird stuff, but I think it needs cranking up. You'll see in a second. So we've now got another thing. If we need to close on an enemy, we can absolutely close on them now. So we used to have a top speed of, I think we had like 10 meters per second before. Now we've gone down to like 9, I think. Yeah, 8.9. So it's terrible. Absolutely terrible. Now, let's see her go fast. We have here, you hit this control block and hit enable ACV. Just now in boost mode. So this is when you need to close with an enemy. This gets hit. Now, the AI is actually set up to control this automatically. So if you engage AI mode, it'll just do this. This is kind of just the speed it tries to travel at, to a degree. As I have set something up to make it a little bit easier for turning, because it can be a pain in the butt to set these propellers up to be controlled sometimes. It's going to be 100 times easier when the new ACBs come out though. Okay, so if I turn, see how speed just cuts down. Now I still got to fix up the propellers underneath, so as you know right now I'm trying to turn to the right, those propellers are trying to turn us to the left. Our rudders are trying to turn us to the right, so we're still actually kind of turning to the right, so I need to fiddle with that. But yeah, it's just a little bit of calibrating and it should be good. Yeah, she turns pretty well. She'll turn a hell of a lot better when it's actually functioning correctly in terms of turning. And yeah, she can turn around once you've managed to finish turning. If you let go, booster kicks back in. Now, simultaneously, it's not all it can do. If you were to... Now, this is the part that bugs me. I had this set up differently. It was meant to be set up so that as you press the control to go forward, it would kick in immediately to full power. Instead, it has to build power up because we're having to run it in continuous mode instead. And on top of that, if you disable the ACB, now the only reason for that is because it was the only way I could really think of at the time of setting it up so that when you turned it would cut that off. Yeah, it was being a pain in the butt otherwise. So yeah, when I had the controls set to cut it off, it actually switches it to continuous mode, so I was like, oh no, it's not really doable the other way. But all this means is if you need to stop boosting and you've had the boost turned on, if you turn, you just touch yaw in either direction for a moment, it'll cut the power to the propellers underneath. At the same time, we also have reverse. This is rather entertaining to watch. It's, she just throws her rear end up and out of the water. Like, those propellers are still going forwards. They don't really have the opportunity. But yeah, if we would actually chuck those into reverse as well, Bob's your uncle. We are just zipping backwards, and things getting chased at that point. I mean, the front cannons can totally just raise up and start firing. I've set restrictions on the guns, like the cram cannons. When I was doing so, I had a bunch of problems. At one point, while I was setting the constraints for the actual turret, I accidentally touched elevation. This one, more precisely. I don't know how, but I must have, when trying to set maximum azimuth back to full, must have accidentally clicked elevation. So its minimum elevation was 180, maximum elevation was 180, and the gun was actually... Oh, I need to turn that off again. The gun was actually pointing itself... Get back out. So yeah, the gun was locking itself pointing that way. I just couldn't control the gun. The AI couldn't control the gun. Like, there was just nothing that could be done with it. The second it was selected, it would lock itself there, and I was like, what's going on here? It took me a little while, I looked at it and was like, ah. So, yeah. That's dealt with. See, if you just touch your, boom. Immediately cuts the power to that. So yeah, soon enough she should hopefully be able to turn herself using those Hellblade propeller things. If not, if it becomes too much of a pain in the butt, where for some reason or another I just can't figure it out, then I'm just going to end up, because yeah, they're just center of mass is like set up. I basically marked out center of mass rather than the center of the vehicle itself, center of mass. So you don't necessarily want to measure your vehicle and go, okay, it is exactly, you know, like, alright, we got a 20 block long surface here, so I'm going to put one propeller at the 18 mark and one propeller at the 2 mark. So there's to have them at either end of the ship. What you want is to go into build mode and see exactly where your center of mass is and end up actually measuring that out. So that's why, even though this is the central block, the center of mass is actually about here between these two blocks, which is why measuring out where those spinners went, I've actually ended up measuring it out like that. And so it's ended up sort of with a propeller at either end equal distances apart from the center of mass, and that way it'll actually rotate it on its center of mass, because you don't necessarily want it rotating on the center of the vehicle's axis in terms of its actual, like, physical proportions, I guess. It's mass. That is what's important. If it's heavier at one end, it's going to need the propellers sort of moving further in one direction if it's lighter or heavier, so as to apply more or less rotational force to the vehicle to try and turn it around. So the best way to solve that, as far as I've found, is to measure from the center of mass and then build your propellers out an equal distance apart from that center point. If it's between two blocks, just, yeah, do it as 2 blocks. and then whoop, when you're when you're building it, you just do that, mirror it up from that point, and then just extend out to where you want your propellers. That's the way I did it, and yeah, it's just, as far as I'm aware, that is the best way to actually get it to properly turn. I usually would just use propellers and such for all of this, but my god, does this thing pound. It's nuts. I did not expect to get it up to 25 meters per second, I'll say that much. I was hoping for 15, to get it back up to 15 meters per second, like a sort of standard battleship usually that I go with, but this thing just goes when you hit those boosters. So just one quick demonstration while they're running. So yeah, it's these blades here. They run all the way from the nose all the way to the back. And we've got these automated control blocks here, so this is what's cutting the power. So activate whenever the controller is received to your left. They've been mirrored, and they reach 3 blocks to reach the spinners. Opposite side, I have the same with right. And it just sets the rotation speed to 0. And then what's happening in those boost blocks, in air quotes, yeah, green is forward, red's back, of course. All I've got is, I've set it up so that if it's below, like height above sea, or ground, greater than... What? Yes. Yeah, no, that's right. Yeah, so basically I just needed an arbitrary trigger that would always be on. So height above sea or ground greater than minus 100. So as long as we haven't sunk down to, 100 meters below the surface, then these propellers will be going as long as boost is on. What was entertaining was when I was actually testing them before. So if we have them turned on, one last quick kind of entertaining little thing it can do. So it can kind of sort of lead. Will it do it? No, it's not gonna. Oh, it might. It might. Yeah, it will. There we go. So this is what was happening when I was first testing it and really didn't have it set up to turn off yet, and I was like, ah, crap. On the upside, you could do something kind of weird with that, which is now its maximum speed is technically set at 55. You know, this battleship moving around the map at 55 meters per second if you wanted. But yeah, no, that's a bit odd. Wasn't really intended, and I kind of didn't think about the fact that, like, sometimes if like I'm building on it or whatever, it might end up out of the water to a serious degree. Because as long as those propellers are under the water, we're good. But if that nose gets up enough, we just start shooting off into the stratosphere. But as soon as I hit that, we'll just kind of go down. Now, I don't know how this is going down. I mean, it looks like all of our, currently, yeah, all of our upward-facing thrusters is actually, like, they're all trying to drive us down. That shouldn't really be happening, because I haven't actually set anything up for that. I've got general-purpose pitch and roll, and I've got altitude via air pump, but I haven't actually set up anything to try and maintain our altitude via these thrusters. So I don't know. I don't know why that's happening. But yeah, so should do its balancing. These are all set up accordingly to what they're gonna do, and that was a pain in the butt. Having so many little ones rather than just a couple of big ones. It's just like, goddamn. She's pretty much done. So what I was thinking, I'll quickly demonstrate, show what she can do. Seems alright. Yeah, okay, so grab that in and grab a few spikes. We could probably even bring in like And I feel like we could bring something bigger in. But yeah, as you can see, the AI has kicked in as soon as it started turning. It doesn't turn too badly. What the hell? At the end of the day. As you can see, my lasers, see how long they kind of zap for? But like, it seems like the laser sticks around for a while, and it just takes a while before it zaps again. Anything I've seen from the Onyx Watch, and it just sprays shots out. It's nuts. So we got the big cram cannons going. We got the little guns. Blah, English how? Going. This thing's gonna throw shots off. That's what it does. It noses down really hard and makes it really difficult for shots to land. But we've even managed to land those cram cannons there, so that's pretty cool. What's more important is landing the smaller guns. We should spray it once it gets close here. Yeah, fairly hard, do a good amount of damage. We can shut it down. It's out of commission. It could actually probably even be commandeered. Sold off for its resources. It's another 2 fighters. Oh, 1 fighter down. I don't know how the other fighter got away. It looked like it took a few hits. That one's shredded from the back, and then this one's going to be the final victim. You can see even the standard auto cannons kind of just spraying shots. Kind of seemed to have stopped briefly, but I guess it's because of how it's lined up. Oh, they were shooting really far ahead of it. See, guns are starting to line up again, and there we go. Done. If the guns were more accurate, I'm kind of considering maybe looking around at I think it's Blowthorn's weapons code. It's going to take a lot of customizing to get it set up right. But if I could do something like that, I mean, this thing would be a hell of a lot more accurate. That's already sprayed out most of its smaller guns. Why am I going to fleet? What am I doing? So let's get another one of those judgments out. Jesus. Just cram cannon the hell out of that thing. Alright, so the second it lines itself up straight in any direction, it'll kind of just take off. But up until then, not so much. I like how our auto cannons can reach that far, but our cram cannons were just like, nah. Alright, so they're going to be starting to fire. Our smaller guns can't quite reach over this range, but that's fine. Neither can theirs at the moment, so they're going to be wanting to turn around and close, as are we, so we're very slowly turning around. These cram cannons are going to get off target in a sec, but we'll have the front guns going as we approach. I mean, it's sort of semi-kind of coming towards us. It sort of seems to be trying to dodge to some degree, of course. That's one thing I could set up, is, although it would cut out our ability to go quick. Oh no, I don't have the anti-torpedoes set up. Oh dear. Okay, well, we're gonna eat those. But that's fine. Or is it? Because the first set are just hitting us now. That's lagging it right up. Yeah, it made a mess of those. That's okay. It doesn't help that, yeah, I just kind of forgot about the anti-torpedo torpedoes and whoops. Alright. But that's something that I know is handled. I can guarantee that. Those anti-torpedo torpedoes, just they deal with that. I've tested that. So what we're really worried about is, are we going to be able to land our shots with these cram cannons once we get close enough? Are we going to take too much damage beforehand? Because, geez, those torpedoes are ruthless. I wish lasers could actually be set up underwater. I know that the Constitution can fire its lasers under the water, so I had originally hoped these would be firing off after the enemy's torpedoes, seeing as we should be able to sense them with our sonar, but apparently not. Like, apparently just won't shoot. They'll fire the torpedoes via it. Oh wait, is it lasering them? It is. Ah, it's just failing to break them. but it's trying to. Okay, well that's good to know. Maybe if I could set my lambs up enough, like so that they were actually good enough, might be able to get rid of the torpedoes too. Fair enough. Okay, so our small guns have started. Their small guns have been running for a little bit now. I think it looks like we've landed a cram cannon shot. So that's a pretty decisive blow, taking out one of their cannons entirely. On the other hand, it looks like our cram cannons are not firing. So this one is damaged and is holding fire due to its failsafe. Okay, and until it gets a repair, which is prioritized currently to the damage from the torpedo hordes. Again, something that all of that should be out of the equation. Yeah. Alright, so we're having a rough time of it, just because of the torpedoes. So I need to set that up. But other than that, as you can see, even just getting our smaller cannons on them briefly there, we shredded the crap out of the side of their ship. We're still firing. Okay, good. Okay, so we're getting our small cannons on them here and there. And we've cut their firepower way down at this road. By the looks of it. Yeah, we're shredding their torpedoes as well, so they're not going to be able to keep firing those at us. So just slowly getting through it. So yeah, even when it's under really bad conditions, where one of the counters is just kind of out of the game for a bit. I mean, the cram cannons are targeting the wrong place, well and truly. But yeah, keeping them online would be a lot easier if the ship wasn't kind of shredded at the time. But yeah, just the big thing is keeping the cram cannons online. We can pretty much just destroy each of their small cannons with the cram cannons from what I've seen. If we hit on the side or just above the deck, we can just straight up destroy those turrets. If we hit the head of the turret, it's just gone. It'll basically disappear. The main cannon, on the other hand, is basically what needs to be shredded by the smaller guns. Usually it kind of gets that. I mean, we could also target it with the cram cannons and eventually get it. If we targeted straight onto the actual head of the gun, we'd be able to get it pretty well. So yeah, there goes all those torpedoes for sure. So yeah, it'll eventually win. If its guns stay up for the whole fight, it'll absolutely be able to win. And yeah, so I don't know, it's getting there. So I hope you guys enjoyed seeing the battleship in action a little bit. Just needs a tiny bit more work, and then it is completely ready to just punch on. At that point, ships like this are just not a problem. Then the only thing I've got left to do is, and I don't know how I'm going to do this, try and set up my shields so that way they'll actually switch to absorb mode if the enemy is basically firing lasers at us. I don't know how I'm going to go about that. I need to try and figure out a way of doing that to deal with enemy lasers, as yeah, currently don't have a way of dealing with that. When I had the bigger advanced cannons as our main guns, I was putting smoke into the back of them at one point, and like that probably would have been pretty good for that kind of situation, but it's fine. Yes, as you can see, those cram cannons are actually pretty powerful. They do a pretty solid amount of damage. They'll shut guns down good and proper. They've detonated that main turret completely out. And yeah, so that's pretty much it for now. Hopefully next time I'm showing this battleship off, it'll be completely finished and might even be in the campaign. So hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day, and have a good one, guys.